Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am so very excited to have you joining us today as we talk about how you can have better business performance using workflow automation. And we'll also be talking how you can play a significant role in your company by driving success through a sound digital transformation strategy. During today's webinar, specifically, we will be talking about a number of things. Let's start off with these three. Number one is how is digital transformation driving competitive advantage by enabling much improved business performance today? Number two, we'll also be reviewing how digital transformation actually happens compared to how it should be getting done. And number three, we'll be talking about how digital transformation doesn't need to feel like climbing Mount Everest. It really can be a competitive advantage, and I want to share some specifics in this area with you. Also, during today's webinar, we're going to be revealing some really important information that addresses some very important statistics in the way things are happening today. Number one, we'll be talking about how it really is possible to address the worldwide talent shortage. We'll be talking about how you can avoid becoming part of the trillion-dollar revenue loss that is happening due to the shortage of skilled labor. And lastly, we'll be talking about how you can take control of your destiny a bit more by creating your own tech solutions without writing code. But actually, before we dive in, I should probably introduce myself. My name is Julie Bark, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at HighGear. I'm really thrilled to be able to speak with you today about something that I am absolutely passionate about. That is better business performance. For the better part of 30 years, I've been using my sales and marketing expertise to help large companies like Baxter, KPMG, and IBA, helping them accelerate their growth. I've also led pretty significant brand initiatives for highly acquisitive companies like Computershare, a company traded on the Australian Stock Exchange, and for JVs such as Omnix, which was a joint venture between GE Healthcare and the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. And during the course of my career, I've been very involved in developing processes, improving the way work gets done, and leveraging technology to better my team's performance. So when I was considering my next opportunity, I was absolutely thrilled to find an organization like HighGear, where I can use my background to help others get better results as well. And that's why we're here today, to help you get results and have a clearer path for digital transformation success. And to provide a bit more context on the company, I've actually got a short video about who HighGear is.
Is your office still working out of its inbox? That's no way to manage an enterprise. Searching through emails, updating spreadsheets, struggling to know if everything's on track? It's hard to get ahead when your team is falling behind, spinning their wheels, not knowing what to work on next, or trying to recover from what got missed yesterday. But BPM is bloated, task management is basic, and IT's just too busy to build something from scratch. It's time to take control of the chaos. It's time to shift into HighGear. HighGear is the only platform that lets business users build enterprise-grade workflow applications without knowing how to code. Not cookie-cutter applications that don't meet your needs, or low-code applications that still require programming, but powerful yet easy-to-use applications, loved by your team, trusted by management, and approved by IT. Available on-premise or in the cloud, HighGear is the only no-code workflow platform that meets enterprise-grade security, authentication, and integration requirements. Don't believe it? The world's leading companies depend on HighGear to keep their mission-critical processes moving forward. To quickly create forms, design processes, and automate workflows that streamline operations. To easily assign tasks, track activity, and report status from one central location. And finally gain visibility across the entire enterprise. Your workflow awaits. HighGear, the only way to workflow.
So now that you've had the opportunity to learn a little bit more about me and about HighGear, I'd like to take a moment to make sure that the information I'm about to share with you is going to be useful. Maybe we can start with a few questions about what you might currently be experiencing and what brought you to us today. The first question I have relates to operations and potential shortfalls or even risk exposure that occurs given how things are getting done in business environments today. So here's my question. If you are responsible for operations in some way, yet you feel like you're falling short, do you think this could be the result of inconsistent or misaligned processes? Probably so, and this actually may be one of the things that brought you to us today. Alternatively, or maybe you're experiencing this in addition to the last question I just asked, are lack of resources actually holding you back from getting to where you want to go to achieve near-term objectives or even your long-term vision? Or lastly, what about the possibility, the real possibility that you could implement technology to help you get things done in your business sorted or performing at higher levels? What about that possibility? How do you know where to begin in choosing the right tool and, more importantly, the right partner when you're thinking about this aspect of the business challenges you might be having? It may surprise you to know just how many companies actually fail, not because of the tech choices they've made, but because they overlooked critical attributes of a strong tech provider and collaborator. And I'm going to share a little bit more with you later on in this presentation. So if you answered yes to any or all of the questions I just asked, or if there was even a small component in one of them that resonated, let me ask you a few other clarifying questions. Would you like to be able to be a lot more strategic in your day-to-day? Wouldn't that be incredible? Focus on the high-value activities for you and your team. Or what about resolving issues more quickly and with less expense, even just less headache overall? Lastly, would you like to have a stronger team that can actually go beyond your performance expectations day in and day out? That would be nirvana. Well, if any of the questions I just posed sound like what you've been thinking about, or you've been confronted with challenges that you just haven't been able to resolve yet, then I've got some pretty good news for you. This webinar can actually provide you with a ton of value. But even if it doesn't massively benefit you, I am pretty certain there are going to be a few golden takeaways that may help you in your better business performance journey. Let's dive in. The first thing I wanted to share with you relates to the idea that digital transformation can actually be your competitive advantage. I would imagine that the first thing that comes to mind is customer service, or at least it does for a lot of people. This idea of serving your customers better and giving them a better overall experience is often thought about when companies are looking for ways to outperform their competition. Yet there are other benefits when thinking about digital transformation. While many also think about digital transformation as primarily being driven by the situation of the last 2 years, it actually started well before that in many organizations. And as it relates to digital transformation, there are really 4 key areas where the effort has been yielding real benefit and has over the last couple of years. These include better cost effectiveness, being more cost effective, I guess I should say, better operational efficacy, an improved customer experience, and also an improved employee experience. But even with digital efforts having already been underway to improve the 4 key areas that I just mentioned, COVID really has been relentless on so many fronts. The workplace has been more severely impacted than many of the other ways that COVID has changed our lives forever, however. And immediacy, well, it's taken on a whole new meaning in the business world. The pandemic has turned needs to happen in a few days to having things need to happen in seconds. Immediacy. Now, we want and expect everything to happen quickly. And I have no doubt that those of you who are listening have some pretty dramatic and monumental stories to tell about how life has been flipped on its head overnight. To respond to it, companies were forced to take on digital transformation at a much accelerated pace, as this report from Celerity suggests. But this is just one data point. Here's another. Well-known consultancy firm McKinsey & Company also put a point on it. They found that tech adoption for serving customer interactions with companies has actually been accelerated by an average of 3 years. Think about compressing all of that activity and bringing that forward into now. It's absolutely astounding, and the pressure on the workforce that goes with it is pretty unthinkable. So knowing that there's been this kind of forced transition to digital transformation, it really does beg the question, is there any value in digital transformation, or did we just have to make it happen? And why, if there is value, did it take something like a pandemic to accelerate it? Well, if you believe in the work that is done by consultancies like Deloitte and universities like Oxford, there is documented proof in the value of digital transformation. And here's what the research says. Progress towards financial returns has actually been accelerated by 22%. In essence, you're buying a speed pass to better business improvement. 85% of companies experience market share increases with their digital transformation efforts. And it's found that companies that are digitally mature, they get an astounding 45% revenue growth compared to 15% growth in companies with lower digital maturity. Let's think about that. 3 times faster growth. What if your starting point is $1 billion or more? How does that translate? Well, let's take a look at this concept of compound growth. To illustrate the impact that digital maturity can have on organizations, I put together this slide with a few stats, kind of an example of what is possible with the data I just shared. Well, if you're a business that's making or generating about $100 million in revenue today, 15% compounded annual growth will yield you around $404 million at the end of 10 years per year. On the other hand, that 45% growth I mentioned on the previous slide will actually yield $4.1 billion in year 10. Think about how incredible that is from a competitive advantage standpoint. It demonstrates that there is tremendous value in being more digitally mature. But I don't want to stop there. Why don't we take a look at some additional data? Executives have been cited as saying that the key benefits of a digital-first model include some things we already talked about, but it's been reinforced here in yet another study. There's improved operational efficiency, you get to market faster, and meeting customer expectations are one of the real benefits. And I would suggest that we could even say that digital transformation allows for us to exceed customer expectations. But let's get real. There are always 2 sides to the same coin. Not everything is coming up roses when we talk about digital transformation. I want to shine a light on the dark side of digital transformation as well. And to do that, I need to take a look at how the work in companies is actually getting done today. Let's start by looking at talent. One of the most astounding challenges of our time is that all of this tech and going digital actually has to be supported by someone, skilled workers, and we simply don't have enough. 4 years from now, we'll actually have a shortage of 1.2 million software engineers, and that's just in the US alone. And while you may think it's a tech resource problem, human resource experts at Korn Ferry suggest that we are already in a worldwide global talent shortage of at least 40 million across all kinds of roles. They anticipate in less than 9 years that number is going to double, and the impact is huge, to the tune of 8.4 trillion in lost revenue. This kind of outcome will go beyond impacting individual companies to affecting worldwide economies. And here's some more doom and gloom for you. If the talent shortage wasn't enough, digital transformation efforts are actually hitting a brick wall in many organizations due to employee pushback and the lack of buy-in. Again, from McKinsey & Co., they report that 70% of transformations actually fail most often due to resistance from employees. And the current talent that is available really doesn't have sufficient expertise. So I guess that begs the question, again, how is digital transformation work actually getting done in today's environments? As you've just heard, the headwinds are really strong. We are significantly short on talent, and the talent we do have, well, it doesn't really believe digital transformation is delivering value, despite the statistics. That's absolutely astounding and challenging. So I'm sure you can see at this point that we really do have the deck stacked against us in a pretty significant way when it comes to all this transformation stuff. The value of digital transformation is documented, yet the struggle to make it happen at this point might seem pretty insurmountable. But I do have some good news to share after painting a pretty bleak picture with all that doom and gloom. But before I jump in about the strong tailwinds, I thought I'd provide some level setting here. Let's talk about what we mean when we are saying we're going to go digital. What many people have not yet thought about is that we're not changing the fundamentals of any business per se when we embark on a digital-first model. We are simply changing the way in which we deliver value. In today's day and age, we'd like to also suggest that anyone can drive digital change and adoption. Well, how is it that we are able to say that and make that claim? Well, let's first consider the first significant tailwind that I want to share with you. A few years ago, HighGear conducted a survey, and it was about how technology is occurring or can occur in companies. What was revealed in our study is that there is an emergence of this new class of non-developer developers, otherwise known as the citizen developer. These individuals don't have coding skills, but if they are somewhat technically astute and interested in tech, they can become what we call software assemblers. And I'll describe what I mean in just a moment. It would be a bit misleading when we do talk about the citizen developer concept, though, that HighGear was the first to discover a report on this idea. But we are absolutely shining a bright light on this trend because we think it's so critical. In 2017, it was actually reported that 1/3 of organizations were already supporting citizen developers with training and platforms. And 84% of those surveyed about the rise of citizen developers said they want to see their organizations do more to support them. Also, other key research highlights from other companies also suggest that there is even more validation of the citizen developer having been around for a while. 60% of all custom apps right now are built outside of the IT department. 68% of QuickBase users said they create no-code apps simply because they fit their org's needs better than other solutions. And even more astounding, research organization Gartner suggests that in just 1 year from now, 2023, just 1 year from now, citizen developers will account for at least four times the number of professional developers at large enterprises. So net, there is definitely a large hidden asset class of developers that are probably hiding in plain sight in your organization today. You may know them, or you may not even have realized that they exist. Better yet, you maybe or one of your team members are a citizen developer already. By tapping into citizen development, you ultimately get a speed pass for delivering digital transformation. And in our opinion, that's how digital transformation work is and should be getting done today. Beyond the notion of citizen developers, there is a second significant tailwind that's emerged over the last several years. It also affects the way in which digital transformation gets done. Software development has actually advanced to the point where functional components can be built by coders, and then the assembly and full operational execution of the software can actually be done by non-coders. This is what is meant by being able to deploy no-code and low-code, ultimately. Low-code will likely still require developer intervention for full execution, but there will be citizen developers likely involved as well. However, no-code is unique in that it's designed like Lego blocks. Non-developers simply assemble the components or individual blocks they need to get the solution that fits their specifications best. And they can do this very rapidly. In many cases, this is done with a drag and drop interface like the one you'll find in HighGear. And the real value is that software solutions can be built up to an astounding 100 times faster using no-code platforms. Let me let that one sink in. Getting a solution deployed, up and running, 100 times faster. Well, according to Gartner, this no-code and low-code thing is definitely here to stay. And in just 3 years, they believe that more than half of all development will be done in-house using no-code or low-code solutions. So let me pause and do a little bit of a recap at this point. Number one, there are huge demands on companies and resources to go digital. Number two, skilled workers are in tremendously short supply. Number three, not everyone understands the value of digital transformation. Fortunately, there's a new class of resources that has emerged, and we've talked about the citizen developer. And the software industry is already providing the tools needed to address the skilled labor shortage with low-code and no-code solutions. However, we haven't yet talked about how we address the biggest challenge of all, employee buy-in. At the end of the day, getting everyone in your organization on board is a function of your approach to change management and cultural readiness. And without this, you simply cannot have successful software deployments. These are just simply very significant hurdles as well. So when it comes to change management, one of the best ways to address this, and cultural readiness as well, is to think beyond the core people, process, and technology in an organization that drives success. It's well known that these three components do form the basis of any successful business operation. And frequently, oftentimes moving beyond the status quo means looking to outside your organization, though, for strong partners who can help optimize your performance. Sometimes not just about the internal workings of people, process, and technology, but looking outside your organization might seem daunting as well. It's no small undertaking. So what I thought I would do at this point is share with you 5 criteria that I've actually used when trying to align with the right companies outside of my organization to help me drive better business performance. Criteria number 1, I think this is really important, is to find a partner who does understand your challenges. It really is amazing to me the number of times I've been approached by a supplier or vendor who clearly hasn't researched my business or done any real homework to understand what challenges I may be facing. I see this every day in the cold emails and cold outreach that I get from others trying to sell me their services. I found that when someone actually came to the table with some ideas on how they might help me, I had a much more likely way to think about them as a partner and a much better rate of success when I was looking at evaluating them. And just to give you a sense for what that might look like, here's some data on what issues are holding companies back when it does come to change. Number 1 is outdated or legacy infrastructures being one of the top issues, noted in the 2018 Challenge of Change study conducted by IDG. So that takes us to criteria number 2. You do want to find a partner who has the tools and the support required for a comprehensive evaluation. You'll know this once you've actually identified the companies and partners that you think might have a decent handle on what some of your greatest challenges are. And you'll know this when you start to look at what kinds of tools does the vendor or supplier actually offer to help you in your tech evaluation. Truly, the onus should not be solely on you. They should be coming to the table as a consultant, really. A demo is just a short glimpse that you'll get into a software company's capabilities, and trials are actually very helpful. But what about truly understanding and sharing knowledge that they have from looking across the industry and their own client base? For example, do they have any way to identify and recommend business requirements that need to be supported for both the near term and the long term? HighGear, for example, shares a buyer's guide that contains nearly 200 specifications and requirements that any company would want to consider when evaluating an enterprise-grade no-code workflow automation platform. And this is, we found, very helpful to companies considering us as their partner. It actually took several years of working with marquee customers to develop this guide, but we feel strongly that it signals the expertise that we have as a company and how deep we'll go to support you. And you should look for this in others as well. So let's look at criteria number 3. You want to find a partner that can demonstrate how the tool will specifically meet your requirements. This criteria actually brings together criteria number 1 and number 2. If your prospective partner really does understand your business, they help you evaluate the requirements you need to consider and have fulfilled, and then can address the outcomes and strategy part of your process, well, I think you've actually hit the trifecta. You want a partner who can offer an objective long-term view while offering you the opportunity and chance to get up and running fast. In workflow automation, that's getting your initial workflows in play without worrying about or focusing on your license count. Criteria number 4, find a partner who is a strong cultural fit for your organization. This is a biggie and likely one of the most elusive. This actually goes beyond the nuts and bolts of execution. And as I just mentioned, it can be one of the most difficult criteria to discern. It's great if your partner is knowledgeable and capable. That's numero uno, as I say. But if you and your partner work in different ways and you don't share the same business performance philosophies, then I would suggest you're setting yourself up for some big failure. You want to look at a company's history, their track record, their client roster, and even how they approach service level agreements. And this is where some of the cultural stuff will be revealed. At HighGear, we do believe that service and support in the SaaS industry is sorely lacking. So much is done through chat and email, and there's very little human-to-human interaction. So we put a very strong commitment behind our customer success programs and our service level agreements. We're definitely not the only company who delivers in this way, but we're really very proud of our track record and the example we continue to set in our space. Criteria number 5. You want to find a partner whose approach is integration and security ready. And this is related to any kind of software that you're evaluating. Beyond the 4 criteria I've just mentioned, it's really important to take a long-term view of a partner from a collaboration perspective. And security and integration are 2 very significant considerations, as these are really no longer the nice-to-haves. If you didn't know this already, the average cost of a security breach in 2021 was $4.2 million, and that's according to IBM. That's a lot of financial risk to be taken if security isn't a top priority for your software partner. It's also important that your partner focuses heavily on its integration capability. To offer a truly digital-first model for the long haul, all software needs to operate as a cohesive unit in one large and multifaceted ecosystem. It just does. So be wary of solutions that aren't looking beyond a traditional firewall infrastructure, for example, to deliver an extra layer of protection. And if you schedule some time to talk with HighGear, we'll tell you about our H-Safe approach. So now that we've covered 5 critical criteria to consider when you're choosing a digital transformation partner, how might HighGear fit into your strategy? Let's go a bit deeper. I want to start out by talking a little bit about risk. With 15 years of experience under our belt at HighGear, we've come to see that manual processes really do have significant issues for businesses. And this involves risk, quite frankly, a lot of risk. So let's look at a few examples. In 2020, Citigroup was acting as a loan agent for Revlon, and they mistakenly sent an approximate $1 billion loan repayment well before it was due to Revlon lenders when it should have been sending a small loan interest payment. And Citigroup has not been able to recoup that money. In another debacle, 500,000 voters in Virginia were sent their absentee voter applications with incorrect information. This cost the state thousands of dollars in reprint and duplicate mailing expense. And in the UK, 16,000 COVID cases were underreported due to a manual process error. While that really doesn't seem like it might be consequential, Public Health England was not able to inform individuals of possible COVID exposure. I certainly would not have wanted to be one of those individuals. So, financial, operational, and reputation risk. They are definitely heightened by manual processes. And in some cases, if there isn't any real visibility or reportability on processes overall, there's really no way to try to address this. Aside from risks that manual processes really allow, security and integration costs are currently quite staggering. So this is why they're so important to consider in terms of capabilities for your software partner. Just a few examples here as well. There's reported $500,000 in costs per year per company, all due to poor app and cloud integration issues, as reported in this 2019 study by Clio. And while we often think about external security breaches, insider attacks are on the rise. Negligent insider issues account for 62% of all insider security challenges. What that means to you is that you need to have systems that can account for this. The real issue is that the situation is invisible, as I previously mentioned. Lastly, just to put a point on how much damage is actually being done from manual processes, let's consider Amazon. In just a couple of years, they've already publicly reported out, or at least it's been identified, that they had customer data leaks on multiple occasions. So let's shift into talking about HighGear. HighGear was created with risk mitigation in mind, and our emphasis is definitely on helping organizations get to better business performance. That's our mission. What's really important to note about our approach is that we are an enterprise-grade no-code software that stands up to the rigors of even the most highly regulated industries where security is non-negotiable. Ultimately, what we do is we empower users to get more done in less time. You actually get to focus on more strategic initiatives. And as I've already mentioned, this is where a real competitive advantage can come into play. You get real-time reporting that gives an organization information at its fingertips. You get to make decisions and pivots instantaneously. And the security protocols that I've mentioned, well, that lets you sleep well at night, knowing that you've put a robust system to work for you instead of having to worry about whether or not you or someone else can actually handle some of the risk. So in a nutshell, HighGear was created for everyday business users to build enterprise-grade workflow applications in days, not months. We absolutely see the challenges that companies are facing with talent shortages and failed software implementations. So with our no-code platform and its reporting and process improvement capability, we are able very readily to gain the trust of management teams. And by focusing on security and integration, forward-thinking IT teams, well, they absolutely embrace this and approve. Here are some things that we absolutely know and how HighGear can change some of these things. Repeatable, consistent activities allows for strategic decision making. And once you have visibility and measurability across your work, you can go about looking at ways to improve and to create a cadence that offers predictability. Lastly, we know unequivocally that security and integration, they have to be a top priority to properly manage business performance. So very specifically, when you look inside our platform, you're going to discover some pretty extraordinary capabilities, especially when it comes to audits and compliance. We can become your trusted system of record due to our irrefutable audit trail. Once it's in the system and action has been taken, the activity log is unchangeable. It's there to stay and is there to serve as your audit trail. Also, you'll have one of the most secure systems in the market at your fingertips. You get granular level permissions, role-based user configurable access control, down to the form, field, and individual level. It makes certain you have full accountability and control over who has access to information, tasks, and workflows. And as it relates to efficiency, productivity, and overall business performance, HighGear lets you measure activity levels across each stage of the workflow. It also allows you to be effectively managing your team's workload and performance against objectives, KPIs, OKRs, or however else you define the specific measures relevant to your business. And with real-time notifications and task reminders, the system will go to work for you in keeping projects and tasks on task with real-time reminders and notifications. So, real quick, I'm going to show you how all of this comes together. We're going to play a short product demo video for you, and I'll be back to you right after this.
Introducing HighGear, the leading intuitive no-code platform for business analysts to rapidly build enterprise-grade workflow applications. It's easy to shift into HighGear. Administrators configure people, teams, and departments. Business analysts use visual tools to create fields, forms, and workflows. Their teams assign tasks, track status, and generate reports. And our platform meets IT's enterprise-grade security, authentication, and integration requirements, whether on-premise or in the cloud. HighGear's easy-to-use visual workflow designer empowers everyday business users to design custom business processes from scratch. If you can draw processes on paper, you can design workflows in HighGear. It's simple to copy and paste workflows, color code sections, and safely push changes live into production without IT assistance. Or customize more than 40 pre-built workflow templates without knowing how to code. Our intuitive drag-and-drop form builder makes it easy to capture the right information from users and team members. Quickly create required fields, select data types, and assign permissions. It's drop-dead easy to design forms any way you want, all on your own, without submitting an IT support ticket. Create custom tabs, columns, and layouts, and even embed third-party web applications before publishing forms for distribution. HighGear's enterprise task management capabilities help organizations assign tasks and manage work across dozens of departments. Role-based task lists, work queues, and recurring tasks help teams prioritize what to work on next. automatically receive notifications when tasks are assigned, and reminders if projects fall behind. And the activity stream helps managers track progress from one central location. Our real-time reporting engine provides complete transparency into your team's performance at all times. Quickly create in-depth analytics and ad hoc reports with our business intelligence module. Drill down into pie charts, bar charts, line graphs, and tables to identify bottlenecks and optimize business processes. Or export reports in Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and Adobe PDF format for automatic email distribution. HighGear's robust compliance capabilities are trusted by businesses in heavily regulated industries to streamline auditing and reporting, automatically enforce compliance with industry regulations and business processes. Our non-repudiable audit trail serves as a system of record for all user activity and configuration changes. Role-based permissions and access controls keep your sensitive data safe at all times. HighGear is trusted by the world's leading financial services, banking, investment, and insurance companies to manage work, improve visibility, streamline operations, meet compliance requirements, and achieve digital transformation. Ready to shift into HighGear? Schedule a demo or contact us today. Your workflow awaits.
So, to sum things up, if you are at a point where you're being restricted with tech that really can't keep up with your vision, and you're dealing with costly mistakes because of manual or inconsistent processes, or you are an everyday business user who really wants to have more control of your destiny at work, and even more, you want to get more done in less time, you want to have real-time visibility to more effectively manage your work, and you want to gain buy-in easily for tools that you know you can use on your own, well, then I would love for you to chat with us. We'd love to help you learn a little bit more about how we align with your needs. So click below and book a call with us. It's very easy by scheduling a consultation. This will take you right to a Calendly link, and you can get on our calendars very quickly. But if you're still wondering about our tool and whether or not it's worth considering, I've shared a lot with you in my own words, but I thought it would be great for you to hear what some of our customers had to say.
So what we do is we usually use HighGear as our main tracking tool to make sure that people are accountable and responsible and know when work is upcoming to meet those milestone and deadline dates.
It all goes into the tool, and so at the end of the day, when we do that closeout, I run the reports from HighGear.
All these tasks must be generated in HighGear. So when people go in and close the tasks based on their due date, then we generate a report in the end of the month, and we say we can potentially go back to the client and say, here's the list of the tasks we did for you.
The ability to create custom dashboards, custom task lists, and then show these as they are due and have been delivered over time was a very, very fast way for us to present to a client.
The whole premise behind why we want to use HighGear is because we want to have a single source of truth for managing the information.
We were able to save 40 to 50% of the time that they spent on each project.
I think the platform has definitely enabled us to get more analyst type individuals as opposed to core system developers, and I think that's been very beneficial.
I've implemented processes within a day or so. If it's just between me and HighGear, it happens pretty quick.
HighGear allows us to have the flexibility to kind of put a framework in place and then rapidly prototype and put models in front of the customers.
Which is very powerful to see that they can create a task, a form, have it do things, and record data within 15 minutes.
First sight when I heard a user say, wow, this is nice, because I thought I created that. And to hear, I created the forms, the workflow, and to hear somebody say they liked it, I was kind of shocked.
The need to write code is a lot less than it used to be. HighGear being a great example of a tool that doesn't require the kind of programming.
So they've been able to build workflow using something that looks similar to like a flowchart. Other products we looked at the time didn't have that visual, and it was all very code-based. I'm not a developer, I can't develop, but I can build workflow within HighGear.
And just to add on to the video testimonials that you heard, I thought I'd share a few of the ones that are actually published on our website. CFX, which is a leading housing finance authority, had this to say about HighGear. We needed a technology platform that allowed us to scrutinize work at any stage while reinforcing compliance behaviors and patterns as work is being carried out. HighGear was fully customizable to our needs. And that was from the Chief Compliance Officer there. Additionally, some of you may be familiar with global insurance provider Beasley. They've been a long-standing customer of HighGear for over 10 years now at this point. And here's what they had to say. HighGear gave us the ability to scale, and in the US, there's no way we could have been able to scale the way we have without HighGear in place. And this was from a technical architect. So, as you might imagine, we're very proud of those testimonials. We're very proud of what we bring to the market. And we really are honored to have you here with us, listening to more about our organization and the challenges that we're solving in the marketplace. So if you'd like to learn more and shift into HighGear, schedule a consultation. It's really easy. Click the button below, select a day and time. We look forward to chatting with you very soon.